Hi everybody, it's me, Lala. Thanks for stopping by to watch another video. Welcome to our new subscribers and welcome back to our subscribers who've been with us for a while. I appreciate your support of me and our channel, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I do. I hope you enjoyed this video. So this is a little different than our usual videos here at Lilleybugglane. I wanted to share a project with you. Project share, I guess you would call it. That's the term. And I wanted to share the process of the project with you too. Now, you all know that I am absolutely obsessed with these signs that are popping up or have been popping up all over the place. You see them in Michael's, you see them in Hobby Lobby, you see them in Joann's. There are many DIYs here on YouTube on how to make these signs for your home. And this was the first one that I made, and it just says welcome, and it sat out on the back porch. And I had posted a video when I did this sign on the, how I did it and everything, but I wanted to do a narrated version of how I do this sign, so that we have that on the channel too. These signs are so easy to make. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. And rather than pay $20, $30, $40, even $50 for a sign like this, you could make this sign for under $10 and have a fabulous piece of decor for inside your home or out on your porch. You could give it as a gift, as a housewarming gift. It would be absolutely wonderful. And I'm just totally obsessed with them, and I will be making many more and sharing them with you in the future. So I am going to show you a sign, one of the newest signs that I have made here for Lilleybugglane for the holiday season. I hope you enjoy this video. Please feel free to leave a comment down below. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask, and I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities. As always, I appreciate your support and kind words, and let's make another sign. Okay, for this project, you're going to need a piece of wood, and you can either buy a new piece of wood, pine is fine, or you can repurpose a piece of wood. This is a piece of wood from an old shelf unit that we had here at Lilleybugglane. So I'm going to repurpose this, and I would say this is probably a 6 by 1, 6 inches wide and 1 inch thick, and it can be whatever length you want it to be. You're also going to need a tape measure, an old t-shirt, some foam brushes, some paint brushes, sandpaper, a pair of scissors, a pencil. You're also going to need access to a computer if you want to do the fonts or the wording, lettering off of a computer. You can also use a Cricut if you want to, or you can do it freehand, whichever way you prefer. You're also going to need some stain and some paint, and this will be the base color and this will be the lettering color. You may also want to use a paint pen too, just to make it quicker and easier to make your sign. And then what I do is I usually just kind of mock up a pretty close idea of what I want the sign to look like. So this sign is going to say, "A very merry to you." And I already have the font printed out from the computer, and this is the Cambria font, and it is at 500. The font size is 500. So those are the supplies that you will need to get the sign done. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and paint our piece of wood in the base color, which is this right here, and I'm going to paint the front and I'm going to paint the sides. You don't necessarily have to paint the back because no one will see the back, so that's what we're going to do. And I think I'm going to go ahead and cut out these letters also in the next step. Okay, so what I did was I went ahead and painted using the base color paint and a foam brush. I went ahead and painted the board. And again, I did do the sides and the front. I did not do the back. And then what I did was I went ahead and cut out the letters that we had printed off on the computer and just kind of positioned them there a little bit to kind of get an idea of where I wanted the lettering based on my little diagram of what I want the sign to look like. So there you go. Now this chalk paint, if you have never used chalk paint before, it dries very quickly as you're putting it on, and it feels very chalky once it's dry. It does give a very nice finish, primitive country finish, and you can see how some of the board is showing through the paint. So I didn't do it completely opaque when I put the paint on. And this is 2 coats of paint on here. And I'm going to go ahead and rough it up anyway with the sandpaper when it's time for that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of tape and I'm going to tape down the letters exactly where I want them, and then letter out the other wording that I want, which is a very merry and then to you down here in pencil. And that way I'll know where the positioning is of the lettering to make sure that it is correct. So that'll be our next step. Okay, so what I've done is I have laid out the letters, and I used a little bit of Scotch tape on the back of each letter and laid them out. And what I did was I measured from the bottom of the Y to the bottom of the board, and then from the top of the M to the top of the board, just to kind of make sure that the letters were centered, the word was centered vertically. And then I just kind of eyeballed where to put the letters and kind of measured the distance between the edge of the board and the letter and the edge of the board and the letter. And I'm like 99% sure that it's all centered and everything. It doesn't have to be perfect, because that's part of these signs, is the imperfections add to the look of the sign and everything like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trace around each letter, old school style. If you have stencils, you can do it that way. You can do it with carbon paper. You know, there is a way to do it that way, but I like to do it old school. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to trace around each letter firmly. And then what I'll do is I'll pencil the little wording at the top here just freehand, and then the wording at the bottom freehand too. And then we'll be ready to start painting the wording and the letters and everything. Okay, what I did was I went ahead and traced around each of the letters. So we have the word Mary now on the board. And remember, I'm going to put a very, and then it's going to say Mary, and then down here it's going to say to you. So what I'm going to do, just for my own ease of doing this, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 coat of paint on the letters. That way I can get a perspective as to how big and where to put the freehanding words down at the up at the top and down at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1 coat of paint on this. And you know, you can follow your own process. I'm just sharing with you my process on how I do these signs. So everybody's sign is going to look different depending on what you want to do. I'm just kind of showing you the process that I go through. But each of the letters has been traced with just a number 2 pencil. Ooh, look at that. Look at that change in the light there. Ooh, that was something. And I did it, you know, I did a nice dark line. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1 coat of paint on this, and then I'll come back and show you the placement of the freehanding words up at the top and up at the bottom. Okay, so I have put a coat of the vanilla acrylic paint, and I have painted in the word Merry, M-E-R-R-Y. And then what I did up here, if you can see it, is I penciled in the freehand that I want to do at the top, and then I went ahead and did it at the bottom of the sign. So by painting in the letters, it kind of gave me a little bit better perspective as to where I wanted to put the words at the top and at the bottom too. And that's just a preference I have. And you don't have to do that. This is the first sign that I am doing with some freehand work on it. So we'll see how it comes out. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take a thin paintbrush and do the lettering on the words up at the top and the bottom, and then we will see how that looks. Okay, so I went ahead and put just a real quick one layer coat on the freeform lettering that I did at the top and the bottom there. So everything, all the lettering and wording has one coat of paint on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put another coat of paint on all the lettering, go over it one more time just to give it a nice coat, and then the next phase or stage of making the sign will be to distress it and sand it, and I will show you that when we get to that part. So I have put 2 coats of paint on all the lettering, on the freestyle lettering at the top and the bottom, and also the letters in the middle that spell Mary. So we are ready for the next part of the project, and this is kind of the fun part for me. This is one of my favorite parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper, just like right here, and just kind of fold it in half. And then what I'm going to do is just very lightly sand the surface of the sign, and then go along the edges. And I'm going to go a little harder on the edges to take off some of the coloring so that the wood shows through underneath. And some spots I'm going to rub harder on the surface, but over the lettering, I'm just going to do it very, very lightly. And then in other parts, I'll do it harder to show the wood underneath. And that is distressing the entire surface of the sign. And then I will take a rag and just wipe off all of the dust, and then it'll be ready for the distressing step of the project. Okay, so what Chewy has done, since this is more Chewy's part of the project than mine, is he took the sandpaper and just sanded it lightly, and as you can see, sanded right down to the wood on the sides, and sanded through the lettering and everything to distress it. So you can see how it's going to, once he puts the stain on it, he's going to take the rag here and rub it off. Now this is the stain that we use for all of our furniture and any kind of projects that we do to distress. And this is a stain and a polyurethane in one step. So you don't need to put an extra clear coat on it once you use this. So what Chewy will do now is he will brush on a coat of the stain and then let it set for maybe like 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and then he will take this rag and will start rubbing off the stain, and it will deepen the red color. It will also kind of tea stain the lettering, and will also darken the edges where he has gone down to the wood. And then that will be the last step of the project, and then you just have to wait for it to dry. And there is the finished sign. Chewy stained it and wiped off the stain, and you can see here on the edges where it's distressed and the way I like it to be. So I'm very happy with how this turned out, and I have it next to the snowman that Chewy made for me last year here on the back step. So I just wanted to show you guys the process on making these signs. You can also search on YouTube for, you know, how to make a sign like this, and there are lots and lots of videos. Everybody does it a little bit different, but it's super, super simple. And rather than pay the $20, $30, $40, even $50 that some of the places charge for these signs, they're super simple to make. And if you have a computer and you have access to wood and paint, and you have a little bit of time, then you can make the sign yourself and save a bundle of money. So I just wanted to show you the process, and of course I will be making more of these signs, and I will be making taller signs and different signs and things like that, but I wanted to share the process with you. So thanks so much for stopping by to watch this video. Please feel free to leave a comment down below. If you have any questions about the process, please feel free to ask me, and I will answer to the best of my ability. I think of you often. You are never far in my thoughts. I hope you are happy. I hope you are healthy. But most of all, and most importantly, I hope you are safe. Thanks for stopping by.